Hey everyone, hi, welcome back to another vlog. So this is what I am deeming Shelley time, which is reading updates, recent reads, and a little bit of vlogging, which I have been loving, this mix of chatting about reading and also showing you a bit of my life. I'm loving that. Okay, so this week we started off with some painting. I have some paint swatches behind me. I think you'll probably see more in the little montage that I will put in. But we were trying to find some paint, a paint color that satisfies us in order to get some updated an updated color and an updated freshness to our living room in particular, which has been kind of scuffed up over the years with the furniture moving. I think the people who moved out right before us, who owned that house before us, when they were moving out, the walls got scuffed and they didn't have extra paint in order to touch up. And so here we are several years later, and we need some paint in order to touch up the scuffed walls and for it to feel or continue to feel fresh. So yeah, that's what this is all about. Hey guys, okay, so I'm actually going to a dinner with some friends this evening, and I've got a really great outfit and I wanted to show you all. I'm wearing some earrings that are really pretty. I'll kind of try and get a close-up shot. They're a little bit glitzy. They're from my mom, but the statement piece is kind of my move, but it's a beautiful dress. The whole thing about this outfit really revolves around this dress, and I feel like it's one of those dresses that I wear versus it's wearing me. It's not wearing me, I'm wearing it, and it is like an enhancement of the Shelley for this evening. And then I'm not really sure about the shoes. I have two options, one of which are a pair of like Croc shoes. And I think it kind of edges up or modernizes the dress a little bit. Or I just have some really traditional, beautiful sandals, and I'll back up and show you all. But again, the centerpiece is the dress. I have you all facing a different mirror, so maybe you guys can see the dress a little bit different and in full. So yeah, that's what I'm going to back away and show you. Ooh. This is the dress in full, and I think it's just stunning. So it's Friday, June 10th. I don't have a ton going on today, but I wanted to check in and tell you a little bit about what I've been reading, what I finished, and actually a book I forgot to add in my wrap-up for last month, so I'm going to touch on that. Okay, so the first thing I wanted to talk about was the book that I finished. I finished The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo a couple of days ago, and oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. What a ride. What a ride. Okay, so basically, if you don't know anything about The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, although I think you could, maybe going in blind would be a really great way to go, but in case you want some synopsis, basically, Michael Bloomfist, he is a fallen reporter in Sweden, and he has recently lost a trial in which a lot of his credibility is lost. And so what happens is that he is approached by someone else to help solve a cold case mystery that happened on an island years and years ago. And since Michael is known as like a good reporter, that, you know, sort of fallen into a bad spot, the person who wants the murder solved feels like this is a good opportunity to kind of snag somebody while they're maybe not feeling their best, you know? It's like, this guy just fell, maybe he can help me out. This guy just fell from grace, maybe he is being rejected from everything, and now he can help me solve the mystery that I've been thinking about for the last, several years, like 4 decades, that kind of thing. And then there's another storyline in which it follows Lisbeth Salander, and she is a disgruntled teen. She is quiet and has sort of a charted and wild past, and she's really good at internet research. She's really good at kind of navigating the internet and finding information out and finding people. And these two timelines, these two characters eventually come together, and they are a duo in which They are trying to solve this mystery, this mystery murder that happened on an island ages ago. And the story takes off from there. It's like fun, harrowing, adventuresome, action-packed, has everything in it, and it was amazing. It was just like brain candy, but also like really, really fun, and has some things to think about that are really interesting. And basically, like, it was great. I never read crime, mystery, thrillers, and it was amazing. It was exactly what I needed. I enjoyed it, and I'm definitely going to read the next book. Here, y'all, I'll show you. I already bought the next book, okay? I already bought the next book. The book that I listened to last month but forgot to report on in May was the book Nightbitch by Rachel Yoder. I have been following the reviews of this book with wild amount of interest. Like, if anybody is reviewing Nightbitch on BookTube, I'm like, what is happening? You know, what did you think? I want to know. Just because, like, I feel like there are some polarizing opinions about it. And I just, it's just one of those books that I have just enjoyed following the reviews on BookTube with a sort of a wild amount of interest. And so I picked this up because of Fraser Simons at Springboard Thought, and he was talking about the book, and I was like, you know what, I want to give it a try. So I listened to this, and I feel quite mixed about it, okay? So the idea about Nightbee, I feel kind of weird saying, like, you know, the word all the time. Okay, the whole thing about Nightbee is that she is the main character, who is nameless, is feeling quite stuck and frustrated about her lot in life as a mother who's put aside her art and a lot of herself in order to be a mother, and yet she's not really recognized for this work, and she has a very, like, specific dynamic with her husband in which he is not very appreciative of her, and she starts to feel quite unhinged, okay? Like, she's starting to feel very undone by this lot in her life, and just wanting to, I think, let go of some of the expectations that society has put on her, and she's feeling every which way about it, okay? That's the premise of the book. And essentially, even Rachel Yoder kind of does this little nod to Charlotte Perkins. Oh, Charlotte Gilman Perkins. Oh, the Yellow Wallpaper. I'll put a picture up. I forget her name. And the Yellow Wallpaper is a Victorian piece in which the protagonist, it's a short story, and the woman is in a room suffering from really bad PTSD and is looking at the wallpaper, and she's basically devolving into, like, a bit of an insanity, or what seems like an insanity, or possibly a gaslighting, as the short story progresses in the Yellow Wallpaper. And Rachel Yoder does kind of like this nod at the beginning to the Yellow Wallpaper, and then so I had this idea that, like, the main character of Nightbee is going to devolve into sort of like a wildness, like a unhingedness to her. That was, like, my idea, and so that is essentially what happens. She starts to take on more dog-like qualities, the narrator of Nightbee, and she starts to basically turn more savage, more dog-like as the book progresses, and she has this transformation, which is also a process of letting go and setting her own standards as a mother, and all of that kind of wonderful and juicy stuff. Okay, so here's where the book was interesting for me. I love the idea. I love this idea of a woman feeling constrained by societal expectations, especially around motherhood, and feeling really misunderstood and unheard, and then using that as, like, a force to become unhinged and to sort of take back your life and redefine motherhood. I thought, like, that concept was really interesting, really wonderful. However, I feel like the execution was incredibly poor. I'm going to give you a moment. I felt like on a sentence level, Rachel Yoder really needed to work on her craft. I thought the voice was actually incorrect because most of the story of Nightbee we're spending inside the narrator's head, and yet the book was written in third person, but it read like first person, and sometimes I wondered if it would have been better if it was written in first person. So I felt like the voice was really odd, and I thought structurally there was a lot of missteps. just even from like talking about her mother and her parents, the main character, I felt like the author, Yoder, could have really kind of woven that in throughout, so it felt like a more solid and cohesive theme. So basically, if I was given Rachel Yoder's manuscript of Nightbitch, I would be like, let's restructure this whole thing. But the idea is amazing. I love the idea. The idea is great. But on execution, it was not my favorite. And I really feel like it was a misstep on Yoder's part because she really had a good idea. And I just thought like some development, some restructuring, some sentence work, like all of that could have been done and rendered a more articulate and artful experience than the one that she is currently giving. And then now for a quick outfit, I'm sure I'll show you in the mirror, but I'm wearing an all linen outfit. Basically linen is sturdy and breathable and easy to wash and really wearable. And so since I live in the South and it is wildly hot out here already, I mean, it was 90 degrees yesterday, 90 degrees Fahrenheit, 33 degrees Celsius yesterday in my town, and it is early June, y'all. So anyway, so I'm always like, how do I stay covered and feel quite modest while also needing to breathe and just like you know, I need some airflow on me, okay? So this is what I have on today, and I really love it. It's wonderful and comfortable and easy to wear, and yeah, I feel quite put together and classy, and yet I could still probably chase my children around the house and give them kisses and snuggles without having to worry about like mussing myself up, which is quite nice. But yeah, all right, that's it. I'm sure I have one more book to check in about. I'm sure I'll check in about it in a couple of days. And yeah, mostly just loving what I'm reading. What are you all reading right now? I'd love to know. And yeah, I'm sure I'll see you in a second. Okay, so today is Monday, June 13th, and I wanted to tell you about a book that I finished. So I read this with Fraser Simons at the channel Springboard Thought. We shared regular check-ins about our thoughts on the book, and we more broadly read this with the Up to No Good Book Club, who is a group. We read books offline, but a lot of us have and interact with the BookTube space, and so we end up talking about the book on our channel. I'll leave a links and everything to the Up to No Good Book Club, to everyone involved and everyone in that group down below in case you want to see other perspectives on Young Mungo, which is what I'm going to talk about. So Young Mungo was written by Douglas Stuart. It came out this year in 2022. It's a brand new release. It was one of my most anticipated new releases. I couldn't wait to read this on so many different levels, and I was so glad when we did. So what is Young Mungo about? So Young Mungo follows the story of a young and quite soft and vulnerable young man named Mungo who's living in Scotland, in Gaskell, and he has got an incredibly dysfunctional family, starting with his mother, who is very clearly an alcoholic and has a really, really terrible relationship, not only with alcohol, but the way that she lets alcohol affect all of her relationships with her children, and even her relationship with the town that she lives in. And so that's where the trauma stems from. And then his mother, Mungo's mother, has 3 children. The oldest is Hamish, who is what I would consider almost a gang leader. And then there was, in Glasgow, he sort of leads a gang of rowdy boys around to create destruction in the city. And then there is Jodie, who is Mungo's older sister, who has her own set of hang-ups and her own life, including the fact that she's very bright and she doesn't know where her future is going to go, and she finds comfort in an inappropriate relationship. And then there's Mungo, and so everyone in Mungo's life, not just his family, but even those around him, are scarred or are broken in some way. And Stuart does this great job, not only just showing you the complexity of somebody, but he also shows like a soft side. And he's really good at kind of keeping that balance going. And you get that Mungo has this naivety to him, has this softness, and has a malleability to the world that a lot of people try and influence. So, for example, his older brother thinks that he needs to be more mannish, more like a masculine man, sort of that toxic masculinity that we've seen and talked about. He has a very special relationship with his mother, like Mungo does. His sister Jody, she has her own opinions about what Mungo should be doing in order to kind of not be so babyish, not be so naive, but also there's like this idea that you want Mungo to grow up, but you don't want him to lose his naivety. And that's, I think, what the book is talking about. How do you grow up and still maintain perhaps a sense of softness? And that's what I was following in the book. That was my biggest question. And oh my goodness, this is a ride. This is a ride, y'all. This went so many places that I didn't expect it to go. It was amazing. It centers around a love story. Oh my gosh, there's just so much about it that I loved, but I thought Stuart was really great, not only just constructing a story that I was very invested in, but creating a character that I was immediately like emotionally involved with. I was just like, Mungo, that nothing can happen bad to Mungo. I will hurt those who hurt him. I love him. Do not with my Mungo. So that's how I felt. And then on top of that, I just felt like his deftness with characters was wonderful. And the way that he created different scenes, and the way that those scenes led you to different interactions among the characters that were fresh and new and interesting. Everything was great. Everything was great. This was amazing. Yeah, so if you couldn't tell, I really enjoyed this. Now, if you didn't know, Young Mungo is my first Douglas Stuart book. Now, Stuart's only written 2 books, but his first book won the Booker. He was like, hi, I'm new to the literary scene. Let me just like win the game. You know, that's how I felt like Stuart was. So now I'm on the hunt for Shuggie Bain, and I will get my hands on it and I will read it. And I am just, wow, this was just great. I really loved it. And I'm just so glad that it, you know, fulfilled all of my expectations and more. It was just a wonderful read. And thank you, Fraser. Thank you for reading it with me. There are 3 other reads that I'm going to quickly touch on. The first one is North and South by Elizabeth Gaskell. I'm reading this with Jack at Spread Book Joy, and this book centers around the protagonist, Margaret, who is a very poised young lady who I get is of marrying age, and she's definitely taking care of her parents emotionally as they've moved towns. And the thing that keeps on impressing me with Gaskell's writing is her boldness to talk about grief, her boldness to talk about death and what that means, and for her to even kind of dive into those 2 topics and explore them. And so I thought it's been really fascinating. I keep on comparing Gaskell to Austen. However, in Austen's work, for me, death is very far away. It's never right in your face. The characters are not often directly dealing with or grieving somebody. And Gaskell doesn't do that. She makes grief as a central idea in her book. And it's a central conversation, at least where I'm at right now. And I find that quite fascinating, that she is not shying away from topics that I think are more difficult to articulate, more difficult to get correct and right. And I think it's interesting that she has chosen grief to explore, because you see the different ways that the characters grieve, men are grieving, the way that women are allowed to grieve, and the way that they are both, the men and women in the book are reacting to a central death. And I think that right now is like what's piquing my interest the most. And of course the plot is interesting, and I want to know what happens to our characters, and I want to know if the love interests are going to come. But this week I was definitely focusing on the way that Gaskell handles death and grieving, which has been interesting. The next book that I'm working on, and I'm actually not going to say a ton, but I'm reading a history book with my husband Ted and my friend Fraser. We're reading The Rise and Fall of the Third Reich by William Shirer, and we're discussing it together. And it's the history of Nazi Germany, and it's fascinating so far. Again, maybe I'll do a whole dedicated recent reads to it, but it's fascinating. I'm only a couple of chapters into that. And then the final book that I'm reading is The Bread the Devil Knead by Allen-Agostini. I'm reading this on my Kindle, and it is about domestic abuse from the perspective of a woman who I believe is from Trinidad, though I'm not exactly sure. I might need to correct that in the comments below or in the description box below. But yeah, so it's about domestic abuse and definitely told from the perspective of the woman who is suffering from this abuse. That's told immediately. And so it's this fascinating and interesting read about why she's staying, her history, her background, and ultimately this main character is Alethea, I think it's her name. She's fascinating and wonderful. And I'm reading this as part of my Women's Prize project, which is wrapping up pretty soon because on Wednesday, they're going to announce the winner of the Women's Prize. And I'm excited about that. So yeah, so that's everything I'm reading right now, everything I've finished. What are you reading right now? What are you loving? What are you not loving? Tell me about your reading life. I shared, it's your turn. Okay, well that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here. And I will see you all in my next one. Bye guys.